And I'm delighted to welcome into the Dubai Eye studio Ashish Panjabi, the Chief Operating Officer of Jacky's Electronics. Ashish, great to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Good to be back again, Richard. Ramadan Kareem to you.
Shukran. Now, many things for you to celebrate. One, of course, the holy month of Ramadan, but also happy birthday. Jacky's is 40 years old this year, and you're doing a whole bunch of stuff to celebrate that. Lots of special offers and so on and so forth. Either you've used that last man's anti-aging cream or you weren't around 40 years ago to start this company,
No.
I would guess. But listen, 40 years, let's start with that and what you're doing to celebrate it. A bunch of special offers and things like this. Why do you decide to make a big song and dance about an anniversary?
Well, it's not every day you turn 40. And being an expat company living in this part of the world, you don't see many companies that have been around 40 years. I mean, the country isn't 40 years old as well. We started, of course, in Hong Kong in 1970, and over the period we've grown. We reached the UAE in 1985, and we've been here now for 25 years, which is another milestone for us. And it's a matter of pride. I mean, it's a family business as well. We've gone through the generations. And we hope to be around still for generations ahead.
Well, indeed, and you've been around, say, 25 years in this country. I mean, you've seen some highs and lows, some ups and downs, and some recessions that I suspect have been far worse than this, back in the 80s when the oil price crashed and so on and so forth. Hopefully we're looking back now on the credit crunch and the recession of 2009, but how does it compare to others with a sense of perspective?
Well, like you said, I mean, we've been through the recessions earlier. And when we started in the UAE in 1985, it was in the middle of a recession. My father had come here, Jacky Panjabi at that time, and he'd started up the office over here with one of my cousins. And people asked him, they said, why are you leaving Hong Kong? Why do you want to set up in Dubai? What is it in Dubai that you want to be over here for? It's a recession. It's the wrong time to be here. And he actually saw the opportunity at that time. I mean, this is the time when things were starting to boom over here. You had to set your seeds in, and you saw the results after that. And we've been through this in Hong Kong. I mean, we've been in Hong Kong for 40 years now. We've gone through a lot of crises over there, over the period. The biggest being the Asian economic crisis in 97. And guess what? Things rebound, people move on, and you forget about it in a couple of years.
Have things rebounded now? I know you and I spoke, we've spoken a couple of times over the past year or two, and back in 2009 you said it was pretty tough. Sales were down. What was the figure you mentioned to be 20-25% was something that springs to mind. Where are we now with summer surprises just over?
Well, the summer period was good for us. I mean, the pre-Ramadan period, we did see the numbers improving. But at the same time, we have been seeing the trends have changed. A lot of it is about price, a lot of it is about promotion, and these things cost money. At the same time, you do get the pressure on margins, which keeps coming up. And if I look at key categories, LCD TVs, laptops, we've seen some prices drop up to 25-30% over the same period last year on a per unit basis. But then we've had new categories grow in the meantime as well. The tablet PCs and the iPads, the smartphones, the iPhone 4, which should be coming officially very soon. These have all been growth categories as well, and these have all been high-ticket products as well that we've been seeing.
Who's spending the money these days? Traditionally, tourists were a very important part of the mix. Summer tends to see an influx of tourists from the neighbouring Gulf states. That's the theory. That's what traditionally happens. And they tend to be reasonably big spenders. Has that happened this summer? Have you had the Kuwaitis and the Qataris in your stores? We've
seen a lot of the Saudi tourists in the last 2 months, definitely. But increasingly, it's a lot more about the local residents at this stage. And even if I look at the location of our malls and where they're moving, malls like Mirdif City Centre aren't going after the tourist community. Those are going straight after the local community. So you start to see a lot more residents in there, and they're shopping a lot more.
They're spending money?
Yeah.
What are they spending money? Because, I mean, when we go to Jacky's, we can either go and buy a nice new flat-screen TV and a DVD player, or we can pop in to get some blank DVDs and a new charger for our iPod because we've lost it. What are people going out with these days, and have you seen that trend change? A new toaster or a new TV?
Well, you've got a little of both. You've got the value segment, which has grown over the period. So you do have a lot of people looking at the LCD TV at $12.99, $13.99, $14.99, $15.99, and they are looking for these deals and these offers. And every weekend you see them running in and asking, "What is the offer this weekend?" But at the other end, we've seen the 3D televisions and the LED televisions pick up, which cost 10, 15, 20,000 dirhams. And they've been moving as well. And believe it or not, the Middle East has been one of the places that you've been seeing 3D TVs and LED TVs actually do probably as a percentage much better than most other parts of the world as well.
Here's a question as a retailer. How do you appeal to both? I'm looking at your 40th anniversary promotions and all kinds of special offers. And Jacky's does have a lot of this. I was on your website earlier and there's Ramadan promotions. So you do a lot to target the cost-conscious shopper to get them in. But it can sometimes be difficult, can't it, to be, on the one hand, targeting the cost-conscious shoppers, but at the same time producing a kind of high-end look and feel to a retail store so that the guy who's happily going to come in and spend 20,000 dirhams on a TV and not know or care really how much it cost, will they not sometimes want to go to a kind of more specialist high-end store that just looks and feels a bit more exclusive?
Well, I mean, it's all about having the right customer experience in the store. This is what we've been spending a lot more time on. The service elements for us have become a lot more important in the last 18 months to 2 years, because you can't take a customer for granted. And we need to be out there. We need to have the outreach programs with our customers. This is what we use our social media platforms for as well. It's about enhancing the experience. It's about educating customers. It's about creating the customer conversation, as we call it internally. It's all about starting the conversation, and with that conversation, hopefully you get some sort of loyalty that builds up over the period.
And you can, but sometimes, Ashish, it can be expensive to deliver strong customer service. You need good people and you need to train them well, and that's expensive. And in a business like consumer electronics, where the margins are not the widest in the world, spending an extra 10% on staff and an extra 10% on training can be the difference between a profit or not. I mean, I'm exaggerating for effect, but there is a point there. You can't spend limitless amounts of money on staff and staff training. How do you strike that balance?
Well, I agree with you on that. I mean, you need to find the balance in there. But one key balance also, and one important factor to look at, is staff motivation. If you don't have a staff that's committed and motivated, you can spend as much as you want on training them. You're not going to get results. This has been an area that we've had to work on as well. And I think everyone around has had to work on is getting your staff motivated enough so that when you do give them the training, they take the most value out of it and hopefully they implement it.
How do you do that when you employ, as you do in your business, a large number of people, many of whom will be on relatively modest wages? That's not a criticism of Jacky's, it's just an observation about the industry.
Well, it's all sorts of things we do to incentivize them. I mean, we're members of the Dubai Service Excellence Scheme, for example. We get mystery shopped every month by the DSES, which is part of the economic department over here. Using that, we actually incentivize our staff if they end up getting good results. I mean, the last month they came in, we got results on average 95% and above. All the staff who got that were incentivized for this. We do, of course, have our product incentives, our sales incentives, customer service incentives. So in a way, it's money that talks, but it's also the career growth that happens. It's the appreciation they get. All these pictures get circulated when they get the rewards. Everyone knows about it. We even, put them on Facebook at times, and you see customers cheering for these guys and saying, "Yeah, Sharjah City Centre, you guys really rock. I've seen you." And it's a matter of pride for them as well.
We're going to talk more about social networking. You're very, very active in it, and your video Gaga promotion, I'm very interested in talking about. It's serious marketing questions I have for you. We'll get to that after the break. First of all, though, people always think, and I'm guilty of this as well, we think of Jacky's Electronics. And indeed, when I introduced you, I said, Ashish, Chief Operating Officer of Jacky's Electronics. You're not. You're Chief Operating Officer of Jacky's Group of Companies. You do a whole bunch of stuff. You've got distribution, warehousing, logistics. You've got your own in-house brand of domestic appliances, Venus, and so on and so forth. Let's move away from the shop front and your role as a shopkeeper. How's the back office, the back end of the business doing?
Well, it's gone through its changes as well over the last couple of months and the last couple of years, as we've seen. But it's been a time for us to refocus and do what we do best. You've had to look at the businesses that you have, and you look at and say, what am I doing well? What aren't I doing too well? The things that aren't doing too well, do I continue with it? Do I make it better, or do I let it go? So there are hard decisions that have to be taken, and we've had to take some of them.
Which are the kind of businesses that you've exited, for example?
Well, I mean, there aren't too many that we exited. It's a matter of refocusing and merging in certain businesses we had. We used to have a division that did only office equipment and one that did visitor management solutions. We combined the two because we started finding out a lot of overlap in terms of customers and in terms of technical people that we had. So we refocused on that and said, let's do that better. We are in the digital printing business as well, which is something we do across the Middle East, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And we looked at it and we said Pakistan is probably not the right market for us to focus on entirely at the moment. So we shifted focus to a country like Bangladesh in the Asia Pacific region, which has been booming of late for us. So we had to find our markets, we had to pick our markets, deploy extra resources if we had to over there. But we did start to see the results. But at the same time, you don't abandon people. Like I said, we saw the Pakistani market for the printing business, said probably not the right place, but we invested in service engineers over there because your customers over there aren't necessarily going to invest in new equipment right now, but they want the service to be there because their business is printing. The moment they stop printing, they stop earning any money. And if you abandon them now, you're going to abandon them when the times are good again.
Talk me through this process of restructuring and re-engineering businesses. There has been a lot of it going on lately. What did you do at Jacky's? Did you get in the consultants? Did you bring in, I don't know, McKinsey or people like them, or did you do it all in-house? Because that's quite an important decision, isn't it, for a COO like you?
Well, most of it was done in-house. We did, of course, have to go through the numbers and do a lot of crunching. And this is where we're blessed with that. We've got good finance people with us as well at the same time. But you need to keep things with an operational mind as well. You need to have the right people with you in terms of who manage these businesses and who understand what needs to be done. A lot of it is about change management. It's about culture management that has to come in. And it's about looking at all of the small details at that time and then seeing, can we do it? If we can, how do we do it? If we do it, how do we implement it? And then how do you keep monitoring it and making sure you get back on track again?
We're going to have to take a very short break, but we will talk more in just a few moments' time with Ashish Panjabi of Jacky's. Right now, just gone 6:45. Preeti Malik is here with the latest news and